It's all about perspective and mindset. The way you look at something and the way you think about something is going to determine your action and the outcome. In our case, in today's discussion, we're going to talk about why it's so important for sellers to look at sales as an art form rather than a grind. Oh, this here is some good stuff. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another great episode of the Sales Evangelist Podcast. I'm your host, Donald Kelly, the Sales Evangelist. And I'm so excited for another great episode. I'm so excited to be here with you today. And especially as we're going into the new year, man, we are in New Year's Eve. It's going to be a good time, man. Tomorrow is going to be New Year's Eve, and then we have New Year's Day. But when you go into this new year, you're going to start setting some goals. But before you even start setting those goals, I want you to get motivated. I want you to get focused. If 2020 wasn't the best year for you, which it wasn't for a lot of people, let's make 2021 right. And one of the things I want you to learn is from my good friend Gary Manske. Gary encourages sellers not to look at sales as a grind. The grind is kind of like it's difficult, something I have to do, rather than something that I want to do, which is the art and just how you approach it. Listen to how he motivates his team. He has worked and helped build performing teams, and he comes with a wealth of knowledge. Anyways, great discussion here. Let's go and dive into it. Welcome to the show, Gary.
Hey, I'm happy to be here, Donald. Thanks for inviting me, man.
Of course. Looking forward to chat with you about this. And for those who don't get a chance to hear the full thing, what's going on, Gary and I were chatting on LinkedIn, and the conversation came up, and the thought came with this discussion about the idea of enjoying sales and making it something that's a game rather than a grind. And Gary, I bragged about you there in a teaser a little bit, so I'm looking forward to hearing your insights. Now I put you on this pedestal, so now you're going to have to deliver, right?
Stand back.
But Gary, right now we know a lot of sales reps go into this next phase into 2021. So many of them have been like knocked in the gut when it comes to COVID. I can tell you for us, when at the beginning of the year we had some pretty decent sized deals that we're working on, that were coming over and being maturing to come into fruition. But then all of a sudden, COVID knocked the wind out of our sail, and then all of a sudden we had to figure out a new strategy and plan, and we started to see improvements, and it became one of our better performing years. But many sellers are still having this negative mindset of thinking COVID took deals from me, COVID, and I'm scared of scary fat COVID. But how do we go about making sure that, when sellers say this, how have you been impacted by, how your sellers, have been impacted by COVID, and how do you help them to get motivated to go through that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Very timely, of course. And who knows when this is going to end, this whole COVID thing. But I think it's like just about anything. It's a mindset, Donald. I think in order for you to start in one place and see how your results are and move to another, you got to have the mindset of always being curious, right? Glenn Ross, he's ABS, always be selling, but always be curious. You always got to be learning something. So, I've seen a couple different things when it comes to COVID recently, right? Or this last year. One is the people that are defeated, and they go into it and they say, well, it's not working anymore, and we have to figure something else different, or I'm just not selling, and my excuse is I'm not hitting quota because COVID.
Yep.
Well, that's a legitimate, mindset for someone. I'm not trying to limit someone's thinking, but you got to go into it a little bit differently and say, this is a different environment. I have more opportunity, perhaps, to reach my prospects and reach my customers and help my customers, because they're in the office. They're doing the same thing you are. They're working at home, and they're maybe not used to it. You can help them. And in doing so, just like everything in sales, it's all about the relationship.
Yeah.
Find a way to connect with that person where they're at, and again, have that relationship, as opposed to the attitude of, hey, I'm going to sell you something.
Yeah.
So, that's one thing. COVID has impacted people in terms of, hey, it's just not working anymore. I'm missing my numbers because of COVID. I think you're seeing other companies and you mentioned it yourself, you're doing pretty well coming out of this. The company that I'm with today called Dakota Micro, what I said is, hey, we got a big world out there. When you're a small company, small to medium sized company, you haven't talked to everybody. You may have to make a few more phone calls, but there's still a lot of people out there that need what you might be selling. And you have to think about a different way of promoting your value prop as well. So a lot of different things around that, Donald. But
Yeah.
bottom line is set your mind to it. Set your mind to how can I take this challenge and make it an advantage?
Yeah. And I think you're right there with the idea of now there's so many other ways that you can connect with a prospect these days in who are there's so many things you could probably relate to. Before we started this episode, it looked like you may be at home as well. You're
Absolutely. I have been for 6 or 7 years, actually, exclusively at home. Yeah.
I have a home office. Today I'm actually at the actual physical office, but we can all relate back to that, right? Of
Yeah.
how, being at home or what that's like. I've been sometimes in the, podcast interview, and I have our son is now 1.5 about, and that those lungs, boy, I can tell you, they can really belt. So having that, being able to connect with somebody on a grounds like that, I think there's so many other ways you can make that human to human connection, which you're getting at. So that's one. And then two, which segues into the discussion, is yes, change that mindset, and also change it to look at this concept. Like if you're a small company and you say, there's 7 billion people on this planet, and obviously not all of them are going to be fit for you. However, it's probably a lot more than the few thousand that you have in your database right now that you could still get in. Even if you have 20,000 people in your database in your CRM, you're telling me that's all your market share? Of course not. There's still a lot more. And even if they're 20,000, I'm sure many of them change roles or change jobs. So coming with that mindset, what you're saying is think different. Think different. And the thing that you said to me that I was like, yes, this would be great to have. You mentioned think of sales as a game rather than a grind. Do you mind speaking to that for me for a little bit? And maybe you could define what that grind is like. Give us that picture of what it sounds like and how horrible that could be.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. So, a lot of, I'm going to say traditional or maybe old school, sales approaches were, hey, you got to hit the phones, you got to hit the dials. If you have activity going on, you're going to get some results, right? Mm-hmm. That becomes a grind. I'm gonna set a goal for myself today to make 200 dials. Wow, that's daunting, right? You're being coached as a young sales rep. Hey, you got to get out there. You got to get the action going. You got to have activity. Activity drives action. Action drives opportunity, and so on. And to an extent, that's true, but that's a numbers game, and that's grinding it out, right? So I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna polish a rock, and I'm polishing this rock, and it's going to be really beautiful. But you know what? I'm polishing and I'm polishing and I'm polishing day in and day out, and eventually something's going to happen, right? As opposed to the game, Donald. The game is going into it with a different mindset. It's not, man, I got to go in here and I got to pick up the phone. I got to talk to people today. It's coming into it with a mindset of, all right, what did I learn yesterday? What went well? How can I apply that to today? What are the 3 things I'm working on myself? When I'm trying a new intro, I'm going to write out a script. I'm going to try it out and say, okay, that sounds pretty good. I'm going to try it on a few people, right?
Yeah.
And if it works, great. If it doesn't, we all crash and burn, bro. You just said it yourself. How many billion people are out there? Try it. Yeah. Who cares? Try it. Be real. This is not about coming in, trudging into the office, firing up my computer, picking up the handset, poking some numbers, and making a dial.
Yeah,
it's a living. Enjoy it. You're spending a minimum, if you're like anybody, you're spending a minimum of 8, if not 9, 10, or 12 hours a day doing this. Enjoy it. Find a way to enjoy it. It doesn't have to be what everybody says, which is pick up the phone and grind your way through it.
Yeah. No, 100% with you on that one there. So, and if I want to continue on that same same conversation, that same vein. Let's go down to this path of enjoying. Let's how can we make it more of a game, really? Because you kind of alluded to this, where you could say, you think about changing some of those different your messaging, changing different tactics. Because if you're doing this for 8 hours in a day, like it can become boring over time if you're just doing the activity like you're saying. But give us some more ways of how we make this into a game, so to speak, an
Yeah.
enjoyable game.
Yeah. So, I think it starts with the right leadership.
Sure.
And the leadership approach needs to be one of support and wanting to help people get better, right?
Hmm.
It's not, if you're in a call center, if you're in some kind of a small cube where they're saying you got to hit your dials today, if that's not you, man, there's so many other opportunities out there.
Yeah.
But in order to really enjoy what you're doing from a leadership perspective, you got to help people.
Yeah.
And one of the ways that I like to do that from a leadership perspective is give them little targets, right? Who's going to hit the most X today? Let's have fun with it.
Yeah.
My weekly team meetings don't start out with, all right, Donald, you hit your call numbers yesterday, but you missed your opportunities. My team approach is, hey, how's everybody's weekend?
Yeah.
Anybody do anything fun? Let's get personal a little bit, right? We're into this together.
Yeah.
Now take that a step further. And what I like to do from a leadership perspective, again, is a best practice meeting. Let's sit down. Let's talk amongst ourselves. Who's doing something that's unique? What's working? What's not? Hey, here's a crazy one. Let's record a call and listen to it randomly. I don't know whose call it is. Let's listen to it.
Yeah.
How'd it go? Boy, talk about nervous in the first couple of those, but who cares? Because we're all in the same boat, rowing the same direction. If you've got a trick to make it easier, I want to know it.
Yeah.
So we got to come together as a team and really focus on how can we help each other. And that helps, keep you from having to go to my cube and sitting in my corner and doing my thing. It comes to camaraderie a little bit, I think. Now, from an individual perspective, I think if your leadership isn't driving in that direction, create it yourself. There's nothing better in this world than the opportunity that you have to be you.
Yeah.
And if you want to take your career somewhere, I'm not saying you jump up and you run to the CEO's office and say, I'm going to do this. What I'm saying, though, is be the catalyst. Be the person that helps others and motivates others. And it's going to end up rising. There's going to be a crowd swell there.
Yeah.
So, find what you're doing and figure out a couple different things that you can do to do a little bit better. Share that with your colleagues and hope your colleagues can share that with you. And now you're doing this together. It's not a grind. It's more of a game.
I love that. The concept there when you mention of the team leader. One of the strategies that we've seen that I like is we do we do the wins the weekend. I always hear fun stuff happen with that. Like one of our team members this morning was talking about how they're a cat person and they have 7 cats. 7 cats. They're excited because now there's 7 cats, and I'm like, listen, yeah, God bless you. But that was something fun that they had going on over the weekend. And then the other part to that too is many people are at home right now, and the idea of camaraderie and just being able to, I may not see my colleagues on a day-to-day level, and I may get opportunity to jump on Zoom, but there's just something about being around each other and hearing that, and it just goes a long way. And then the other part, because then you're not just on this island. And the other thing that you shared that I'm absolutely a big fan of too, and the way that we do it, we look at it as a team. How can we hit our team goals? Right? What are some ways that we can work on it together? Because I've been a part of companies, Gary, where it was the Monday morning meeting was like this show off fest. And it was more about me, and people did a lot of vanity numbers, like this is what I did over the course of the week, or these are deals I have working on, as opposed to as a company, what's our goal for this week? How can we work towards that? Individual and one-on-one coaching scenarios, we've done, that's how we do it. If you want to go and do those comparison, but I think for a coming together like you're saying and doing that discussion and making that a game and working towards something, it's like, man, Gary knows how to get these appointments. Let me listen to what he said. I'm glad they played Gary's recording today. oh shoot, I'm gonna try that today then to help us hit our numbers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it is hard when you're working from home if you're thinking about being yourself in a box.
Yeah.
Um, you got to get out of that. You have to make time for water cooler conversations. You have to make time for those things that you're missing. I mean, I've employed a couple of people that have said, and this is pre-COVID, and they're like, yeah, man, I'd love to work with you, but that work at home thing, I got to have some socialization. But you know what? One of those guys that said, I got to go to the office, I got to be around people,
Yeah.
now works for me again at another location,
Yeah.
another company. And he's like, yeah, this is great. And it's all because we figured it out. You tried something new, you tried what worked, you maybe threw off the things that didn't work, but we figured it out. And now it's no big deal to hit me up on Teams or give me a call on my cell phone or whatever, and let's have a 5-minute chat. I mean, it's no different than standing up and going to the bathroom and meeting somebody at the water cooler in the office. Right now,
Yeah.
we have to be professionals. We have to be responsible. Right. So the important factor here is, if you're a leader hiring salespeople in this work at home environment, hire the right attitude.
Yeah.
It's not a numbers game. It's not a warm body. It's not bringing somebody in to fill a cube. I was in the vendor world for a long time, and I had 300 vendor resources, and we were selling for a big company. And what was important then is filling that seat with a billable head.
Yeah.
What was more important? What was more important is we were able to drive the results,
Yeah.
so we could continue the contract. And if I had a little bit of a gap, I could all day long, I could defend that, because we still had that customer. We're growing that customer. So you got to look at what's important. It's not just a short game; it's a long game.
Yeah, and it's so 100% on that too. Like I think that's where you mentioned the concept again of leaders. If you see people who are, many people have the title of leader, but they're really just like, I don't know, they're Gestapo. Like they're just no, they're not this. They're not a true leader in a sense. That servant leader is going to come with an idea. They're going to come with a plan. They're going to come with a vision. They're going to see where you can go and help you to get there and figure out what you want in that process. And like you said, that long-term game, right? Because I've been a part of organizations where it's just like churn and burn. Somebody comes in, goes out, and it's like they never learned. It was just kind of like, I need you to produce, and they didn't teach those individuals or didn't help them. And some of the other team members helped, and fortunately for me, I had the opportunity to leave those organizations and go elsewhere. But it's that churn and burn mentality, the churn and burn idea, to just come and grind it out. I feel that it doesn't work, and it's like being insanity, doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result, and that it can't be done. So sales rep need to change their mindset. The team needs to change their leaders need to change, help set that foundation and change that. I love that concept. And I just
interject one thing, if you don't
yeah,
mind. You mentioned that the leader. Well, we can all be leaders. It doesn't matter if you're the janitor or the CEO.
yeah,
We can all be a leader, because here's something that people don't think about. A lot of times it's like, oh, the janitor's going to come in and he's going to walk by my desk and dump my garbage can and whatever. But you know what? That guy's a person.
yes,
And that person, you never know what that person knows. Don't ever sell out of your own shoes. That's some of the best advice I was ever given.
okay.
Don't ever sell out of your own shoes. What do I mean by that? What I mean is, I was consulting and helping a cell phone company. They had a number of different cell phone stores. I'm not going to say the brand, but one of the big brands. And one of their owners said something to me one time, and it really stuck with me. And that is, don't sell out of your own shoes. Here's the scenario: if you're standing, let's say you're selling cars.
Sure.
Okay, so you're selling cars, and you're not just selling cars, but Donald, you're selling Rolls Royce. Okay,
Yes.
you're selling a Rolls Royce. I don't own a Rolls Royce, but I could sell one. But somebody would walk in the showroom, and you would look at them, and selling out of your own shoes is, That guy can't afford this.
Yeah.
How do you know that? You don't know that. You don't know who he knows. He might be there for someone else.
Yeah.
And so you can't sell out of your own perspective, right? You got to get to know that person, find out why they're there, what they need, what they're looking for. And you might be able to come up with somebody too and say, this isn't the right car for you.
Mm-hmm.
You want to drive this vehicle and you live on a ranch in the middle of North Dakota with a couple of oil wells out the back corner. This ain't the right car for you, bro.
Yeah.
But you know what? Maybe it is, because he's got 15 different, F-350 vehicles, King Ranch, that he uses every day, and this is his fun car.
Yeah.
You don't know. You don't know. There's just 4 different personas right in there that you wouldn't have known if you didn't ask the questions.
Yeah, who knows if this? Yeah, he might need that for when he comes down to Boca Raton. So,
yeah. So grinder game, right? Is it
Yeah.
a game or is it a grind?
Yeah.
Make it a game. Find out about that person. Hey, what's up with you? What motivates you? What makes you tick?
Yeah.
Because you know what else? By having that conversation, you want them to respect you because you're bringing them some value, and you never know what kind of a referral you're going to get.
Oh.
You never know.
Bro, you're hitting on some truths right there, man. 100% right with that. And I cannot tell you how many times there's one example when I called into a prospect, Gary, and they weren't a fit. So this was when I learned this principle when I was doing in my software sales, and I was selling to city, county governments in case 12. And it just hit me one day. I'm like, all of these schools, they connect, they go to different events. They all know what each other's doing. So I just said, pretend you're the person. I was like, Gary, I know you said you guys are all set. You don't need this right now. But who else do you know that may be of interest in the district or in the area? And dude was able to point me into 3 other schools that could have been a good fit because they were intertwined. And it's something that we can take advantage of. We can do so.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Man.
Good stuff.
Gary, we have to close this stuff out with one major takeaway. What would be that one major piece of advice that you would give to someone listening to this episode and they just heard us had this wonderful conversation?
I think the big takeaway, Donald, is attitude.
Yeah.
Figure out a way that you can change your mindset. If you're feeling like it's a grind, change your mindset to a game. Change it to, how can I gamify? It's a term that's used, and I don't think anybody really understands, but personally, gamify my day.
Yeah.
What's going to make me win today? It doesn't have to be what someone else tells you is going to be a win. It could be, you're motivated by talking to people. Okay. I want to talk to 5 people today and have a meaningful conversation. That could be, your game for the day. Out of that, enjoying your work is going to come more results. You're going to be more genuine. So that'd be my one takeaway.
Love it, man. Well, Gary, I appreciate you taking the time to come on the show today. Your insights was very timely. So thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thanks so much for the opportunity, Donald. And I hope everybody else has a great day, and just get out there and enjoy it. Find some value you can provide someone today.
Boom. That was Gary Manske, and if you want to go ahead and connect with Gary, you can find all of his information in the show notes. If you're watching this on TSE TV or on YouTube, just simply scroll down and you'll see all the information there to get access to Gary and learn about his company and some of the great things that they're doing. In addition to that, he's just a cool guy to know on LinkedIn. I mean, you can learn a lot from him, and that's the whole point of us doing this. We want you to connect with other people who can help give you wisdom and insights to take your sales to, like, not even the next level, but take your sales to the best level that you are capable of doing. And that, my friend, it really comes down to you, what you're willing to do. And in this, Gary gave some insights today, but you could listen to this, but unless you apply it, that's the only way you're going to see results. So I want you to test it out and try it. Connect with Gary on LinkedIn and also learn about his company and some of the great things they're doing. In addition to that, I want you to learn about our good friends. Sponsor pop up at the bottom right now. There you go. You can go ahead and check out our good sponsors and some of the cool things that they have to offer right now. Listen, our friends are giving you amazing gifts because I've had the opportunity to talk to them and tell them, my friends listening to this podcast want some good stuff. You better deliver. And they're willing to do that. So take advantage of the offer that we're giving out. As always, I share stuff like this because I want you to be successful. This is our last episode of this year. And I want you to be able to know that I care for you. I want you to thrive. I want you to be so amazing in 2021. I want you to accomplish all of your dreams. I want you to find more of those ideal customers. I want you to know what to say when you reach out to them. I want you to be able to close more deals. But most importantly, I want you to go out each and every single day and do big things. I'll see you in the new year. God bless you. Love you. Hey, thanks so much for taking the time to watch this video today. If you enjoyed the content, I ask you to go ahead and hit that like button, that thumbs up at the bottom right-hand corner. Also, to make sure to subscribe if you haven't done so already. This way, we'll keep you up to date with all the latest sales strategies, latest tools, and things that are going to help you to not only find more prospects, but to close more deals. Thanks so much.